Hello. This is Monday, January 8th, 2024, and this is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker. Today, in this area of Kentucky, Lexington, the temperature high will be around 44 degrees. Presently, it's around 27, feels like 21. And in this area, there is a wind advisory from Tuesday, 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Winds will be around 23 miles per hour. Today, it will be partly cloudy, highs in the mid-40s and lows in the upper 30s. Sunrise, 7:54 a.m., sunset at 5:34 p.m. Wind around 4 miles per hour. AQI, Air Quality Index, good at 33. So, if you're watching the sideshow on Facebook and Instagram, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Talk about it on WhatsApp. If you're watching the sideshow on YouTube, like, comment, and share, and subscribe. Of course, the sideshow coffee cup, black 11-ounce ceramic, dishwasher safe, good for all beverages, hot and cold, with the sideshow logo on it. Buy from me for $17 plus shipping and handling. Pay me through Cash App, $ TR Parker 1. So here we are, coming off of the first weekend of January 2024. Let's see what happened over the weekend. Well, we can start with Cat Williams on Shannon's show. Has something to say. Like, did you say my name? No, okay, I don't want to take that out of context. But when I did look at the article, it was a video, but it was around 2 hours. And at the time, I couldn't concentrate on that at 2 hours and do what I had to do. So I did see a video response from Ice Cube regarding Cat Williams' comments. So if you're so inclined, curious, inquisitive, you can pursue that on your own time. So coming off the first weekend of January 2024, and as far as the earthquake in California, you got celebrities and regular folks out there at 4.3. I'm quite sure they felt it, but I didn't read anything else pertaining to it. UK men's basketball. Kentucky comes away from Florida with the win. After trailing Florida until the final minutes of the game, Kentucky pulled ahead for the win. Final score, UK 87, Florida 85. And like most sporting events or games, sports, whatever it is, if you're able to see the game, then you can get the excitement of what's going on. And those final few minutes of the UK-Florida game were definitely exciting. Also, over the weekend, Blue Ivy turned 12 years old on the 7th of January. At the time, Beyoncé announced her pregnancy while performing Love on Top I've enjoyed Beyonce. And just a reminder, MLK Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, will be on the 15th of January, 2024, which is a week from today. So you can keep that in mind as well. With the holidays, behind us, so to speak, we still are, as a people, irregardless of culture and where we are, go out to have a nice time whenever we can. Part of having a nice time sometimes includes having a glass of wine. And that, has to be taken in context, because if you have ever had wine, the glass is not really full. Generally, a glass of wine stops at half a glass, but it's just referenced as a glass of wine. So, since a few celebrities have added their names to wine labels, and even before, wine has always had a place in the conversation, and also on the table. So I thought I would share a few things about wine. I guess if memory serves me correctly, my experience with wine probably started with the brand called Taylor's Port. I think I still see it on the shelf from time to time, depending on where I'm at. And it's made by Mogen David. And at the time, I wasn't really wine savvy, so I would pour some in a glass and put a little ginger ale in it, and slice a lemon and drop a lemon slice in it. That's how I had it. And not to be too bougie, Mogen David also makes Mad Dog 2020. To those who know. So, like I said, I thought I would share a few things about wine. And basically, like I said, if you're like me, you know something, but not everything. So let's start with a little bit of education about wine. And this is taken from an article published by the Wine Cellar, and it's called Wine Pairing Tips for Beginners. So here we go. Pairings you'll love: Chardonnay and Sauvignon, Cabernet and red meat. Most people are just wines, red, white, rosé, and that's supposed to be good enough to get you through most occasions. Although, another point, reds are usually served at room temperature, whites are usually chilled, and so are rosés. Okay, so let's start again. Chardonnay and Sauvignon, Cabernet and red meat, Pinot Noir, earthy flavors, Pinot Grigio and seafood, Sauvignon Blanc and tart flavors, rose and cheesy dishes, sparkling wine and salty flavors, Riesling and sweet spicy flavors, Syrah and spice dishes, Zinfandel and rich plates, wine and chocolate, keep that in mind, pizza and wine. Find your wine at a wine cellar outlet near you. So that kind of puts you, as they say, in the know somewhat. And it lets you have at least a way to explore, the curious side of wines and all that it goes with enjoying it. Wine tastings and cheese, etc., etc. So now that you have some idea of how to set the table, let's look at the wine industry, the growing of grapes and wine production. So I found this article, How Drinking Sustainable Wine Can Help Vineyards and the Planet. And it was published on the 7th through an article under The Conversation. And it kind of ties in, surprisingly enough, with climate change and some other things. So I thought I would share it with you. If you bear with me for a few minutes, hopefully you'll find something that you can use. Excuse me. So here we go. The wine industry is both highly vulnerable to climate change and a global source of greenhouse gas, GHG, emissions. The current global food and beverage system is unsustainable. In 2023, world leaders issued a declaration at the UN Climate Change Conference, COP28, acknowledging the role that more sustainable and resilient agri-food systems can and must play in responding to the climate crisis. The wine industry is both one of the sectors of our agri-food system most affected by climate change and is also a small, if not insignificant, contributor to system-wide greenhouse gas emissions. The wine industry has faced criticism over its environmental, economic, and social sustainability more generally. However, it is consumer purchase decisions, which wine do I buy, which have the greatest potential to drive much-needed systemic change to improve sustainability across the wine industry. Bottling grapes. Conventional wine production is not inherently sustainable, degrading land, water, and air while reinforcing social injustices and inequity. Wine grape production is responsible for over 17% of the sector's GHG emissions, mainly through fossil fuel-powered machinery, while the application of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers can reduce biodiversity, cause soil infertility, and pollute local rivers and lakes. Less visible are the social injustices experienced by many of the critical migrant workers employed during the grape harvest. In the 2023 harvest, 2 human trafficking investigations were launched in Champagne. Investigators discovered numerous undocumented workers living in squalid conditions, describing their ordeal as being treated like slaves. Winemaking accounts for up to 81% of sector-wide GHG emissions through electricity, chemical, and water use. However, the emissions from glass bottle production and transport can also be a significant factor. Bottles can weigh from around 350 grams to almost 1,220 grams. It's estimated that more than half of the bottles used in the United States are shipped from China across the Pacific Ocean before being filled and then distributed across the globe. The heavier the bottle, the more fossil fuels are required to transport them. Then, once consumed, managing the waste creates further emissions. Growing actions. The wine industry is responding to these challenges. In fact, Canada has been pioneering some of the important initiatives. For instance, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario is one of the world's largest alcohol purchasers and requires that standard wine bottles, 750 milliliters, sold through their stores weigh no more than 420 grams. Both small and large producers in the US, France, and New Zealand are using lighter bottles to reduce their environmental impact and save money. Wine writers are also playing their part by beginning to add the bottle weight in their reviews. Reusing empty bottles can also significantly reduce emissions, more so than lowering bottle weight. And some countries are making significant progress in this regard. Alternatives to glass bottles with lower carbon footprints do exist, including bottles made from polyethylene terephthalate, PET, paper bottles, boxed wine, wine on tap, and aluminum cans. Unfortunately, customers can be hesitant to buy wine in these alternative formats, perceiving it to be of lower quality. Thus, consumer education is important. While wine growing using organic or biodynamic principles may in some cases promote greater sustainability, these account for only 6% of the vineyards. Most wine producers employ more conventional grape growing methods, which in many cases are being adapted to create more sustainable practices. In the vineyard, these include using more disease and drought-resistant grapes and rootstock, which require fewer chemical sprays and less water. On the wine production side, many wineries, including here in Canada, are investing in geothermal systems for heating and cooling needs in the winery, significantly reducing electricity use. These initiatives are supported by the International Organization of Vine and Wine, whose 50 member states produce 87% of global wine, which recently adopted a policy promoting general principles of sustainability across all production phases. Other industry organizations, such as International Wineries for Climate Action, are focused on ways to reduce GHG emissions to net zero by 2050. While the Sustainable Wine Roundtable is an independent group seeking to advance sustainability across the wine value chain and transfer that information to the consumer. Encouraging sustainability. However, these efforts to improve sustainability have been uneven and inconsistent, confusing consumers waiting to make an informed decision when purchasing wine. Recent research from our lab has shown relatively limited consumer knowledge about sustainability produced wine, but equally a willingness to engage in many behaviors around the product, including buying more environmentally friendly wine and paying more for both environmentally and socially responsible wines. Interestingly, this is especially the case with younger wine consumers who value sustainability considerations more than older generations when making purchase decisions generally. Consumers seek easy ways to identify sustainable wine, such as clear visual cues on labels and trustworthy sustainability certifications. These considerations need to be priorities for the global wine industry as it seeks to respond to consumer demand and address existential challenges to its long-term viability. So that's written by Gary and Carrie Pickering, provided by The Conversation, dated January 7th, 2024. So I hope that was a little bit informative as you go into your new year, 2024. Enjoy the upcoming holidays and dining in and out in your selection of wine choices and continuing to be informed and educated. Next month, Valentine's Day, we'll be here on the 14th. So, maybe on your Valentine's Day to-do list, you can include some wine. And don't forget about the chocolate, because you can always treat yourself. That's it. Hashtag